here. Playing tomorrow against obviously a very talented Missouri team, very explosive offensively. We've got yesterday and today to get prepared as we possibly can, and we'll have a lot to try to get ready for because they're a terrific team.
Our first question is from Chip Howard of KZNE Radio in College Station.
Billy, Coach Kennedy was very complimentary of your defensive effort on Saturday. How would you rate how you played defensively against A&M Saturday?
Well, I think in looking at the game, being there live and then on tape, I think Billy was probably accurate in his assessment. I think that, we did a good job defensively, but I also thought A&M, had some plays that were that they could have made that it didn't make, whether it was, stuff around the basket or perimeter shots. We just didn't totally suffocate them and shut them out. I mean, they didn't score a lot of points. Some of it may have had to do with our defense, and I also thought too they missed some shots too. Jones got going to start the game. He made his first three, and then I don't think he made another basket maybe until late. And certainly they need him to score. Roberson had some stuff around the basket that he was unable to finish. That maybe in another situation he could have finished it. But I thought it was a combination of we did play good defense, but I also thought A&M had some looks that they just didn't finish.
How important was it for you guys before the game to try to keep Jones in check and not get him going?
Yeah, I don't know if you're really able to do that. I think Billy does a really good job of putting that kid in a lot of different situations. And I think what ends up happening is when they start moving him around from the power forward spot to the small forward spot back and forth, you really have to have an awareness of him because there's certain things that they do at the power forward spot with him that when he's not there, you can guard it a certain way. And then when he is there, you have to guard it a totally different way. And it's the same thing with him at the small forward spot. He's a guy, to me, that I'm not so sure defenses shut him down because he's got the ability to get it off anytime he wants to. And to me, he's a real explosive scorer because he can do it from the low post. He can do it facing up. He can play off the dribble. He gets fouled. He gets to the free throw line. And he has the ability offensively to totally change the game, for A&M. But he's certainly a tough cover. I thought we did a good job on him, but he did let some shots go that I thought he had some clear space to knock down a couple that just didn't go for him, and I think that was probably more on him than maybe it was on us.
Thank you.
Next question is from Dave Matter of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
Billy, your team, you've had such balanced scoring compared to a team like Missouri that relies on two guys most nights. How much of advantage is your balance does that give you against most opponents?
Yeah, I think that, Missouri has, guys that are capable, certainly on the perimeter with Ross and Clarkson and Brown. Those guys are guys that are certainly capable of getting 25 and 30 in a game. They're to me, those three guys are special offensive players, and I think Frank puts them in a good place where they can really utilize their skill sets. But I think when you also look at the fact that, Williams as a freshman has really made some positive strides to their team. Rosberg is a physical guy up front. Those guys are capable scorers, but a lot of times they've been opportunistic. So, I do think that Missouri does have some balance. It may not look like that, on the stat sheet with the number of shots and those kind of things, but those two front court players are going to play along with Criswell. They're capable scorers, but when you have such elite offensive players like Frank's got with those three guys on the perimeter, some of that stuff's going to be opportunistic for those guys. And but I do think they're certainly capable scorers, even though their point average maybe don't reflect that. But I do think those guys can score.
Thanks.
This is Steve Walentik of the Columbia Tribune.
Billy, what's the key to getting your team to be as invested as it is seemingly every year on the defensive end?
Well, again, I think that for our guys, it's probably been a process, over a period of time. I would say that most freshmen that come into college don't understand, in a lot of ways, how good players are at this level, how a breakdown can lead to something, that's very, very difficult to defend, when you just totally break down with good shooting or good post players. So, I think our younger guys have been able to learn from our older guys, as it relates to that. but I think our older guys have an understanding of the importance of it. And in knowing the importance of it, I think that they, each and every day, we're probably no different than most teams. We have our good days and our bad days in practice like anybody else, but I'd say for the most part they're invested in trying to improve and get better on both ends of the floor.
And how big a challenge is it to slow down somebody like Brown, who's on the kind of streak he's on right now?
Yeah, I mean, again, those guys are really talented, and a lot of times I'd say the same thing that I said about, Jones from A&M. A lot of times you can play really good defense against those guys, and those guys still have the ability to make shots. And that's more of a tribute to, I think, the position that Frank puts them in offensively, and also a tribute to the fact of how gifted and talented and skilled they are offensively. You like I said, you can, do a great job, and they still have that talent level to be able to make those kind of plays. So I think for any team in our league or around the country trying to defend a guy like Jabari Brown, it's a very, very difficult task in order, because when you got a guy that's shooting, 57% from the three-point line in league play, heck, that's hard to do with nobody guarding you, never mind having to go against defense. So that will probably, put into, perspective of what kind of shooter he actually really is and what kind of scorer he is.